thanks for tuning in. There is going to be a look at the intro if you want. Why am I reading at a cafe? Why am I not allowed to have my head in the shot? I just want to get on with it because new moon is coming up and I want to make sure that I get these readings out for you guys. Okay, so I am reading double blind. Again, that is in the introduction. So I won't find out which sign I'm reading for until the end of the reading. All right. Okay, so the first card that we have is, since every request is granted, I feel no competition. So the card that was drawn for the whole entire group, which then corresponds to all signs for this Scorpio new moon, is the Magician. And the Magician is the card of having control over all of the elements. So understanding how the elements work and how we can piece those elements together, and therefore having control of our lives and our destinies because we're able to work with the elements. The archetype card that I have drawn for this sign is the Warrior. So the Warrior is obviously a card that embodies somebody who knows what their morals and values and ethics are, and it's somebody that's willing to go to bat for those ethics and those values. Now, what I'm seeing with the combination of these two cards here is this rainbow is really standing out to me, and that says that when we take our guidance, and I've already lost. All right, here we go. When we take our guidance from the cosmos, when we're working with divine energies, when we're drawing inspiration from the ethers and from the divine, that we can embody this warrior spirit and we can move ahead with our goals. This is a deeper philosophical discussion, and I have been getting into some philosophical discussions on some people's pages. So, but look, competition does exist in the 3D, but in the 5D, there's no such thing as competition, right? So this idea that one thing can limit me is definitely a fallacy from a 5-dimensional perspective. Okay, we're gonna move on. So when I've pre-shuffled these cards, I actually drew these cards and I've been meditating on them for 3 nights, again not knowing which sign I was reading for. Okay, so the first card that we have is the Ace of Swords. The second card is the 7 of Cups. And the third card is the Queen of Pentacles. Okay, this can be a message about the truth about many options leading to stability. It can be about the truth of, I shouldn't necessarily say the truth. Like, in some ways, what this Ace of Swords card is suggesting is that we have to both use calculus and sacred geometry, like use our logical aspects of our mind here, but we also have this divine inspiration here with the light coming in on the card. It can talk about essentially the main message here, and I'm getting so many different ways of reading this for the collective. One way to read it could be about many options for a wife, or this wife position or role, or many options for this CEO position or role. what the cards are asking for, and I don't know whether you're yet on the position of feeling like there's competition, or you're the one in the decision-making position here. But again, what you're being asked to do here, I feel no competition. I think that for a large portion of you, you're actually on this. Well, it's interesting because the child is here also on the elephant. I think for it's going to be 50-50. For some people of this sign, it's going to be that you're in a decision-making position and you're using both logic and inspired guidance on how to move through the challenges here of different emotions, but different ways to feel about a situation, and even different paths that can be taken to get to this sort of Queen of Pentacles position. All right, let's dig a little bit deeper. We've got some cards, and this is typically cards that I pull from when I get asked to do love readings. I typically read from this deck. Okay, so this tells me that with the Page of Swords and the Chariot here, look at how the Chariot is the person who's setting themselves apart, right? It's somebody who knows what they want and they're heading towards the sun. With the Page of Pentacles here, you can see that this person's just sort of peeking over the wall. It's like they don't yet know, they don't yet have the capacity to be the charioteer in their own story. So with regards to this new moon, the new moon is really about transformation and digging up old emotional paradigms from the past that can assist us in our transformation and our journey. So I'm going to pull now for the sign that we're reading for. Can you give us, this is the one. Okay, the card that we've pulled is self-awareness. It says observe from a balanced perspective. So again, with this Ace of Pentacles card, look, the way that we go when we are creating our own destiny, and we can manifest things that we don't want as well as things as we do want, even though we're reaching for things that we do want. And the reason that that happens is because we're actually unclear about what it is that we want. And that can come from this lack of emotional understanding about how it is that we stabilize those things into our life. Okay, let's get a reading here from the other tarot. I don't remember the name of this deck. I think it's the Illuminated Tarot. The Devil and the Ace of Wands. Okay, so this can talk about manipulating powers, but I mean, look at how phallic this symbol is here. It can talk about a sex addiction, but it largely looks like it's talking about using sex as a way to manipulate energy. It can also be the Ace of Wands is also a card about our opportunities, right? Because nothing transforms from one situation to another in life if there is no fire energy. So it can also talk about manipulating opportunities. We have the Emperor card here, along with the High Priestess in reverse. So, I mean, look, one way that I can read this is about some level of manipulation that went on that caused this High Priestess here to walk away, to not be involved. Because the Emperor and the High Priestess can be a match, right? If you have a very dominant masculine energy and a very passive feminine energy, but the woman is willing to be that spiritual support structure for the male, then that can actually be a very functioning relationship, and it can work out quite well, right? You see sometimes where you've got a man who runs a business empire, and the woman is there as the support for that business structure. However, she doesn't really get engaged in the day-to-day aspects of the business. She more so is like the sounding board for the masculine. And this also just says that, the way that things have maybe been, if this does relate to a job or a workplace situation here with this idea of competition, it can also just say that there wasn't a lack of wisdom or foresight used in the way that somebody went and achieved a goal. So the way that the goal was achieved was through the use of manipulation, and that was essentially highly undesirable here. It may have occurred because there was that calculating aspect here, which the person thought would lead to some level of comfort or stability or structure in their life. So for this new moon, I think I've put the self-reflection card here on the bottom, self-awareness. So what's being asked of our character now at this time is to take the new moon to reflect and to use their self-awareness to understand essentially where they were this page at the time, and how to then come into the charioteer that they want to be. Now, let's get a card here with respect to, no competition and the warrior. How does our character go about this journey again, and this time with the High Priestess upright? Okay. The Four of Swords in reverse can say that a dark night of the soul wasn't taken, so that the person didn't take their time in making their decisions, and that it is now time to go to the dark night of the soul. We can't be this warrior and embody this warrior spirit and then act on that with the magician powers if we haven't taken the dark night of the soul. Now, the opposite way to read that is that the person has been falsely having a dark night of the soul. So holding back, withholding the transformation that needs to be taken, and that it's now time to very much move beyond this rest and reflection mode and to actually take some action. The other cards that came out, and I'm going to read them as a story, are the World reverse. So this cycle is not going to end if this process, if you miss this process this time around, and remember our moon cycles function on a 1 month period and also 1.5 year period. So there is the option for you to correct this over the next month. And if that doesn't happen, then you're bound to carry this cycle back through the next 1.5 years and have to drag it through the zodiac signs to have this level of completion. So with the Hermit in reverse, this really tells me that the person was being guided from something outside themselves. I am so sorry. We've just had a wind reveal here, and the sign that I'm reading for is Aquarius. All right, hello Aquarius. Welcome to your new moon reading. So they were being guided by something outside of themselves, and in that they undertook some level of devilish action, which is what has brought the tower down. All right, Aquarius, that's all that I have for you for this new moon. I hope you've enjoyed the reading, and we will see you again at the full moon. All right, we're back. Okay, this is going to be a little bit choppy because... Okay, so I was told that I'm allowed to record so long as nobody's face is in the recording, and I included my own in my own video. So, very strange. If you've been following me for a while, you know that I am currently staying at my best girlfriend's house, and that because her mom had cancer and she needed help because she doesn't have a nanny. So, but that situation's coming to an end. The chemo treatment's been done for now 2-3 months, and her mom is starting to feel well enough that she can start with taking the nanny duties back, which means that Auntie Riley gets to move on into her own home. Ooh, is she in reverse? I'm not doing a reading for myself right now. Okay, so I've been doing these double blind studies. All these cards want to jump. Let's just tune into this sign here that is hidden. This is the sign that I am reading for. Now the reason why I'm doing these hidden readings again is because I had some hecklers telling me that I'm a full fake reader and I'm not, because I know the signs that I'm reading for, I'm like giving fake messages. So I am now reading for signs when I don't know who the sign is I'm reading for. In some of these readings. So, alright, let's move on. Okay, so the card that we have for this sign is, it's not about controlling my thoughts, it's about guiding them. Okay, so with regards to our spiritual work, particularly where it involves law of attraction, but I'm also actually picking up a lot here about working through challenges, whether that be challenges at school, challenges at work, challenges that we're having with implementing a paradigm of thinking. That's what the challenge is about. Okay, so the archetype card that we have here is the medallion. The medallion card is really quite interesting because it asks two questions. First question is, what is it that physical things represent in my life? So for example, I have inherited some things. What is the meaning of those things which I have inherited? And the other question is to ask, if we're reaching for these things, why is it that we seek to reach for those specific things? So as we know, the Magician card is a card of alchemy, and the Magician card was the card that was pulled for the entire collective. I shouldn't say pulled, it was a jumper for the entire collective. And so this Scorpio new moon is about how we implement our magic, how we control, how we implement the law of attraction, essentially. And you know, I was talking a bit, like, I'm not a magician. I am more a high priestess. Like, I don't really embody, I haven't really embodied that. Like, sometimes I do call myself a white witch. In the past I've had people call me at church, my church members call me a white witch. And, you know, I do find that a bit offensive, which is why, you know, I've largely pulled back from going to church. But what are the things that we reach towards? And that includes, like, for the people here who do identify as witches or warlocks or magicians, what is the meaning? Like, when you're doing your magic, you have to think about the meaning of the items that you include in your magic. So I have learned some magic from the indigenous, and I've also learned some magic from the Hindus. And when I've spent quite a bit of time in India, there was some things that I wouldn't do because I refused to, like, I took my high priestess role and I said I'm not going to allow myself to get involved in ritualistic activities because I don't know the sanctity of the items that were being used. And this is like turning into a bit of a dark message, but hold on. Yeah, okay. But it obviously is coming through, like, I don't know whether we want to call them the Illuminati or what the hell we want to call them, but, you know, there are people that sacrifice children and then drink out of children's skulls and that sort of thing. And there is a dark aspect to that. Now, yeah. So I'm a nature person, and I have a little side business that I call Repurposed Roadkill, where I pick up dead animals and I tan the leather, or I taxidermy the objects, or turn the skulls into jewelry and things like that. So that, I guess that is a little bit witchy. It's part of my witchier aspect. And there's a requirement to understand how, like, if an animal was in fear, right? And the vegans know this. That's why a lot of them are vegan, right? You know, I'm just thinking about it now, right? Like, the batteries that are in my vape, like, come from a cobalt mine, potentially. I don't know. I don't know whether they're cobalt batteries, but, you know, like, that might have slave labor. Like, it's important for us to dig deeper to understand the interconnectedness of all things, so that we understand how magic can go wrong. Okay, that relates not a lot to this card. Like, this is part of the message. So let's just see how the rest of the cards are gonna play in, because that was a big message here, and I don't know which sign that it's for yet. Okay, the cards that we have, which are the main cards that I pulled for the reading, are the Nine of Wands. The Nine of Wands card talks about being defensive. It is the Wounded Warrior card. But it's also a card that can guard us in, block us in, right? Like, you see how she's standing inside this circle, and it's almost like she's protecting this circle. Well, the energy of the wounded warrior is to put up boundaries for protection, but a lot of times those boundaries themselves then block us into a lifestyle, a situation, a frame of mind, and a lot of this is going to reflect a frame of mind based on this other intuition card that we drew here, guidance card. So we have to watch our energy with the Nine of Wands, because it can very much put us into a very limited space and a limited scope of how energy continues to transform for us. The next card that we have is like really beautiful. It's the Ten of Cups card coming out with the Ace of Cups. So it's talking about this opportunity here for fulfillment. And the message here is really, it's not a bad message. It's saying that we have to watch how our guardedness and our defensiveness here drives our emotions, even when we're reaching for this Ten of Cups state, because that defensiveness can limit us from being able to fill our cup with the flow that comes from everything in the universe outside of this Nine of Wands position. On the other side of what's guarding our person, you know, if we limit ourselves to this one little thing, then we're limiting ourselves from a flow from the entire universe. The other cards that we have here are the Ten of Wands and the King of Cups. So this can talk about, you know, we go from the Nine of Wands here to the Ten of Wands. And this Ten of Wands character is like huddling and afraid in the corner as essentially the stability and the structure around them crumbles. But what they're hiding from is this King of Cups card. And the King of Cups here has come out in the upright. So they're hiding themselves from, like, look at the gentleman on this card. Like, he's just so quiet and passive and sitting in his study, contemplating the meaning of the universe. You know, he's in a state of learning about what all of this means. It says, we're not encouraging you to make an effort to control your thoughts, but instead to more or less guide your thoughts. Reaching for the way you would like to feel is an easier way to hold your thoughts in vibrational alignment with that which you believe is good. So there's some level of like being afraid of, and this has been a huge challenge for our character of this sign here, like being afraid of this, either a person doing this work or them doing this work by themselves. So instead they're reaching for something else here. They're reaching for something outside of themselves, and what they're reaching for is causing some magic, some manifestation in the ethers, in the universe, and it may not be manifesting what it is that they want. definitely this one. Okay. Okay, so the card is defense mechanisms. And it says soothe uncomfortable situations or thoughts. Okay, so we're being asked here to look at our defense mechanisms and to instead of controlling our thoughts, to have the paradigm with which we want to use our magic assist us in those manifestations. Okay, we have got the moon. The moon talks about secrets. The moon talks about things that are hidden. The moon talks about our unconscious desires. And the moon talks about the path of the dark night of the soul. That is what this path represents. It is the path of the dark night of the soul. So intuitively here with these wands energy here, like we're at the end of the wands suit for you. So there was some level of defensiveness blocking you off from your own heart center. There was a deep fear of either allowing people around you to go into this reflectful state or of you doing it yourself. All right, I've just got to trust that I'm recording. I've been getting, like, gotta love this Queensland sun. My computer is overheating. I want to get these messages out for you guys. It is new moon, and there was prayer group. They just don't like me reading tarot at the house. So this was my closest option for today. Okay, let's move forward. We've got a Four of Pentacles situation here. And the Four of Pentacles is the lower vibration of the Ten of Pentacles. The Ten of Pentacles is everything that we want in our Pentacles life and situation, right? The Ten of Pentacles is the happy home, the happy family, the financial stability, like, just think of anything that's three-dimensional, whether that be financial, home, you know, our vehicles, our jobs, our, like, the structures in our lives. But the Four of Pentacles talks about holding on to something because we're afraid to stretch for the 10. So the dark path here looks as though our person has to, yes, okay, so our person needs to let go of this Four of Pentacles situation, embrace the energy of the Queen of Wands, embrace the energy. The Queen of Wands is that super, super fiery energy. And it's interesting about the Queen of Wands and the King of Wands, right? Because the Queen of Wands energy, like they say, the queens are the internal embodiment, and then the kings are the external embodiment. But if we look at our pair of, like, let me pull out the Rider-Waite and see if I can find them real quick. Essentially, all I'm trying to say, and you can look this up for yourself, is that the Queen of Wands is actually very much focused external. Like her, here we go. Here's the King of Wands. So the King of Wands, who's supposed to be sort of externally focused, is almost trying to train his internal mind, whereas you'd think that that would be the Queen of Wands. However, the Queen of Wands, good to know that I have that extra little bit of energy in there. The Queen of Wands. Here we go. She's externally focused. She knows that she gets her downloads from the sun. She knows that she is embodied in self and therefore in spirit. And so she can allow herself to focus on the external things. So the path here for our sign and our character is very much about moving on from some physical situation with the pentacles here, embodying this transformative energy. This is the path for our character. They need to go on a mental journey, and it's to look at their defense mechanisms and how it relates to them manifesting or not manifesting the things that they want in their life. And the reflection point here is the medallion. So it is like looking at both what's given and what's grasped for, and understanding how the two merge together. Like if something is given that you don't want, you don't accept it, right? I had a job offer, and like the company essentially asked me what the cheapest they could acquire me for the role was, like, because they had posted the position at like 135 to 165. And then they had the audacity to call me in and ask me what the cheapest they could get me for was. And it's like, the cheapest that you could get me for is what you posted. And I was super offended at that. And I said, let's discuss things in the new year, because that doesn't align. Like, coming at me with that energy does not align with what I'm trying to manifest in my own life. And that was an interesting challenge, because most people don't really take their spiritual philosophy into their workplace, but I'm lucky in my job that I'm able to do that. Okay, so we get to this stage where we're now going on the quest, and we're leaving things behind. We're leaving mental structures behind, but we're also leaving certain physical things behind, because we know that if we overcome this guardedness, that we're going to be able to eventually have this 10 of Cups situation, because we're going to be able to fill our cup with everything from the entire universe, not from just that guarded little space that we've created with the Nine of Wands. All right, guys, I'm really curious which sign I was reading for. I was reading for Libra. All right, Libras, enjoy your new moon, and I will see you again on the full moon. Thank you so much for joining me, and I'll get set up for the next sign. Okay. All right, next time. Just sort of reiterating that I had a bit of pushback from some people who don't know me, so I am doing a special reading today, and I am reading double blind, which means that I don't know which sign I'm reading for. I didn't know when I selected the cards. I don't know now. And none of that is going to impact the outcome of the reading, because that's not how readings work. All right. But what about those innocent little babies? But what about those innocent little babies? Okay, so that is the energy of the reading, and I don't think that we are necessarily just talking about, for some people it may actually be physical babies, physical children, but for a lot of people I don't think that that's the meaning. The babies in this context of what I'm downloading are, the babies are thoughts and intentions, and the babies are the things in our vortex that haven't manifested, right? So we have things that we hope, we wish for, and we desire, and we put those desires into our vortex, if you follow Abraham Hicks's stuff. And and those babies are then the things in our vortex that, sometimes we have to throw the baby out with the bathwater. And the reason for that can be, say I desire two contradictory things, right? Here's a situation just from my life, right? I desire to keep my little scoot-around car, my little Subaru, but I also desire to have an RV, and I can't pull my RV with my little scoot-around car. It's not weighted to tow the RV that I want. Now, I don't have the financial capacity right now to keep both things. So I'm going to have to sell my little scoot-around car and pick up a ute if I want to get the RV. And that's the reality of the situation for me. I want the little scoot-around car because I want to be able to easily scoot around the cities when I'm in the cities. And my Subaru does a really good job in the outback as well. So it was suiting me well for a while. Anyways, that has nothing to do with your reading, but essentially I can't keep holding the two things in my mind if I am set on manifesting one of them, because, maybe that will play into the reading, that some people can manifest multiple things at once. It really depends on where you are at with your spiritual journey with the Magician here, because when we're new with the law of attraction and we're new on our spiritual journey, it does help to just focus on one thing at a time. And in the last year, I've sort of been trying to manifest 6 different things at once in different aspects of my life, and it creates a lot of chaos and confusion in the web of life. And if you are working with God, trying to pull different strings to set yourself up in a certain way, then it helps to disentangle some things so that you're able to focus on the one thing at a time. So because everything is so interconnected, baby magic first is all I'm saying. And I think that that's what this card is actually talking about. It's saying to focus on, well, let's see what our other card is here. We've got the box, yeah. So the box is about containing something, right? And yes, I just want to go back to our naysayers here who are like, it's exactly where I was heading with this. It's exactly what the cards are showing up. My downloads from the first card are going to be wrapped and involved in all cards. That's the interconnection of life, and that's how reading tarot works. So, to all of those naysayers. All right, so yes, and this is sort of the opposite of what the reading was for Libra, which is what I just read, where I'm saying Libra needs to allow themselves to come out of the box. This side needs to go into the box. And by segmenting things up, like this is my career self, this is my home life self, this is my friend group self, this is my workout self, then it's going to allow you in the short term, because in the end we don't want to throw the babies out with the bathwater. And let's see what Abraham says about it. Even your babies are offering vibrations that the universe is matching, and like you, your little ones are influenced by the vibrations of those who surround them. But nevertheless, they are creating their own reality, and like you, long before their physical birth, they set into motion this life experience they are now living. So it does seem like for some people that this is actually about like physical babies, but for others it's actually not. It's actually about like I said, sorry, something that I came down what it is. Let's just track back so people who this is actually we might be child free. So yeah. The boxes around being able to, sorry, like, it's like happens when you read in public, like karmic energies just try to come in and disrupt your reading, not intentionally. It's not intentionally karmic people, it's just the way the spirits move. Okay. So with those people who this reading is actually about children, and I think this top row is going to reveal something there. Okay, justice for romance. Justice for seeking romance. Something along those lines. Okay, for those people that this is about physical children, it's not easy being a parent, and I know so little about this. I have been on nanny duty for like 6 months of this year because my best friend mom had cancer, and I was stepped into the role of nanny, and because she's a single mother, that meant stepping largely into, a fatherly role. So I'm just getting a little taste of that. And one of the things that came up for me, like, I ended up having to give my gym membership up because I didn't have the opportunity to go to the gym like I wanted to. So I was exercising with my godson, and I didn't get to exercise the way that I wanted because he was in the picture, right? So we would go to the park, and I might want to run sprints, but he wants to look in the fish ponds, and then I might want to be, doing pull-ups and stuff from the jungle gym, but now he wants to play on the swing, and it's very difficult to to balance those roles that you have, like those other things that you have in your life and want in your life when you're parenting. And when we are parenting, since your little ones are influenced by the vibrations of those who surround them. Like, in an idealistic world, I always say, and my experience has been, because I've lived in intentional communities, like I've lived in hippie communes, those children are the most grounded. The most grounded, stable kids. They turn into like young adults, and they don't have relationship issues, right? They don't have codependency issues. They don't run with the wrong crowd. They generally can experiment with drugs and not have addictions. And like, they're so grounded because it's not just single mom, single dad, you know, like they've got a whole community of people around them to support them. And I feel so bad, and the reason why I've spent so much time with my bestie is because, you know, she's a single mother, and she does not, like, my godson doesn't have that masculine energy in his life. Like, I'm the one who throws a football with him. I'm the one that, you know, teaches him how to do sprints on his bike. I'm the one who, you know, gets out with the toy guns, and we do target practice and build forts, and you know, really encourages camping and being outside, and because he doesn't have that in his life. And so, but it was hard, right? I had to give something up to do that. And the way that, like, we have to be there for our children, and we have to put our children in situations where they're going to get the most amount of contact and love and support from different types of energies, right? You know, like my best girlfriend, you know, we used to like go to music festivals and go on lots of bushwalks and stuff like that, but she's a very girly girl, and she just likes sweating. And how do you raise a balanced masculine? Like, I came home the other day, and he was helping her do her makeup, and like, yeah, that's great, and if he's keen on that, then that's fine. But like, it's like, it's all about balance and being able to call in the right people in to raise that child, so that the child has the opportunity to discover who that child is. And, you know, I didn't have that as a child, right? Neither of my parents were artistic, and I was like a childhood protege or genius or whatever the heck you want to call it. And so my parents very much pushed me into, no, why are you playing with crafts? You're not a crafts person, you're a science person. Like, go pick up dad's engineering textbooks and read those. And, you know, I wanted to appease my parents, and so I did. I remember being like in grade 7, or sorry, not in grade 7, yeah, in grade 7. And I was writing hip-hop music, and my parents were really upset about that, and like completely discouraged me from writing hip-hop into reading a fluid dynamics textbook over the summer. And I only realized how much I missed because 2 years ago I was at a house party, and we were all hanging out freestyling, and like it dawned on me how and that it's important to facilitate those latent abilities. Okay, now we have not read a lot of tarot yet. I want to get through the tarot for this sign that I'm reading for. there is some level of justice here when it comes to like wishing, dreaming, hoping. And I'm not exactly sure if this is like a single parent who wants to have a relationship but feels like they can't because they're in the middle of parenting, or whether this was a single parent who maybe got into a relationship and didn't tell the person that they were dating that they had kids. You know, there's a number of situations that are sort of coming to mind here. And I'm gonna flip this card because this is going to tell me the Ace of Wands. So there's a lot of transformational energy here. There's a lot of okay, so when it comes back to the box here, and remember how I was saying that for this suit that I'm reading for, this Scorpio new moon is about boxing. Okay, so how do we deal with competing interests? Like, you know, I had such big fitness goals planned for this year, and that was before my bestie's mom got cancer. And so I gave up those fitness goals. Now I'm rolling those fitness goals into next year, right? So I was planning on doing a couple of fitness competitions, and I will roll that goal on into the next year. I think it might be Bashar that says like desire never ceases, right? The things that are for us, we never cease desiring those things. And we might not be able to do everything at once. Obviously, you know, if we were perfectly illuminated and enlightened, then we could have everything at once. But the joy of this manifestation is us actually working through this web of like contradictions. And so this sign is being asked to, the way that you're going to get through this challenge, and the challenge does seem to be about balancing some level of desire for things that fulfill you. This cups here is to box everything up and then to look at it, to analyze and order each thing in a box, and then to start mapping where the contradictions are, and burning away the contradictions to see what's left. And once you see what's left when the contradictions are burnt up, that will give you a pathway forward. Okay, we've got the Sun. This is like such a nice reading. We've got the Sun and the Three of Pentacles. So this is largely about, for some people, this is really about children, this reading, right? With the Three of Pentacles is a family contract card, although it generally just means contracts, and in the traditional Rider Waite it means work contracts, but there's a family and an intergenerational aspect here. So if we read about it from a family perspective, it's saying that you are going to be able to handle this injustice to what's in your heart and the contradiction to that with your family by organizing things in boxes and then burning away the contradictions and then reevaluating what your next step is. For those of you where these babies are about the babies that we put in our vortex, right? Like me saying, I want my Subaru, but I also now need a Ute. It's asking us to get our spiritual download about how these contracts are going to play out, and to burn away the excess, to burn away the nonsense, to burn away workaround for having a small inner city vehicle and having a Ute. And I need to focus on getting following my inspiration, following my highest joy. By following my highest joy, then these contracts can transform for me, and the excess can be burnt away. But the desire for having it all in the vortex is still going to remain. All right, let's keep reading. We've got the box here. So we have to understand the value of the box, right? Because the box is a contract. Nothing exists in a box. And the box can be helpful. Yes, okay, that's where we're going. The box can be helpful in us logically processing things, but the box is a contract, and the contract is everything is a contract. So in some ways, when we realize that, it makes nothing real. So whether the box was used for or against you with these ideas in the vortex, whether you use the box like I'm suggesting to understand your competing priorities, at some point in time, the sun illuminates and the box dissolves. My goodness. So this reading is crazy this reading. All right, temperance. Temperance is about balancing emotions and stability, balancing what's solid and what we want, balancing the opposites and the dichotomy, not necessarily the opposites, the dichotomy of the emotional world, the spiritual world, and the physical world. The Eight of Cups is a card of letting go, and it is, Chris Rex says the Eight of Cups is like losing your taste for wine and then being upset that you've lost that taste, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. Like when we're operating from we can make decisions and then make other decisions, right? Like I can decide that, I'm busy working on a big opportunity and therefore I'm going to just take a job at a cafe, it doesn't mean that I'm not going to step into an executive role again. Like, it doesn't mean that, or we can wiggle our, we can test a path out and then say that path's not right for me and then go back on our decision. I guess respectfully, what I'm saying about that is if you have children, you can do that. There's no problem doing that. But you then have to find that support structure for those children. Like, as a parent, that is your responsibility. And, you know, one of the things that I've definitely learned in the last year and a half is, like, all parents fuck up. All parents. There's no perfect parents out there. And the reason why all parents F up is because no parents can be everything that they need to be for their child, right? Like, if you're a fire sign and you're born into two air sign parents with air dominant placements, like, you're not getting the support that you need, right? And if you're a water sign, or you have like your Mars and water, and you've got parents with like their Mars in an air or in an earth sign, you're not getting what you need in that parent. Like, they cannot provide you with that. So reparenting ourselves is about understanding where we were let down in those regards, and with the Chariot and the Three of Pentacles here, like, driving ourselves to a new sense of joy and freedom. But this right here is really about, you know, about balancing the fact that you're no longer interested in heading towards like a third party situation or like having multiple options. This could be a situation where, like, I'm seeing, you know, and I don't know what sign I'm reading for, but I know of 4 people in a relationship, and one of the girls did get pregnant, and they were like they all lived together, they were in like a mutual non-monogamous relationship, and then once the girl got pregnant, those two have decided that they want to move into their own space, into a house, I believe, and stop being like a gypsy family, the 4 of them, and that really upset the other lady. Because I think that there was some level of agreement. I think like, what actually, I don't really know the situation. I think that she actually partnered with the guy that wasn't the father of the children, you know, the biological father of the child. But they were all 4 were in a relationship to begin with, and then she decided to now become a family unit with the non-biological father, and move out of the non-monogamous situation to be in a more monogamous family type situation. And it cut the father of the child like very deeply. But the reality of the situation is they were in the non-monogamous situation before she got knocked up, you know. And so he is struggling with letting go of the fact that she doesn't really want him to be in the picture as the father of the child. managed to raise a child. Okay. Let's pull a shadow card here for this sign. This is like such a long reading, and I didn't anticipate doing such a long reading for any sign, but one card. Spirit. I did see what was on the bottom there of the deck, and it was the Heart Hearth card, and so what unconditional love means, and for this sign, one card, not two, one card. What shadow card can this sign that I'm reading for? What is the shadow card that will assist them? It says World Shadow. Whoa. So yeah, the reason why I'm spending so much time on this is like, this sign is doing a lot of, it might even be Scorpio that I'm reading for, because this sign is doing a lot of transformation for the collective right now. This sign is working through shadows, that issues for the entire collective, and there's a huge weight on their shoulders right now about how they're transforming and transmuting these energies for the collective. So for whoever this sign is that I'm reading for, like, good job, you are working overtime. Like, I'm gonna start crying here now. So, like, yeah, I'm crying. So I'm digging into past life stuff now. You are like learning to balance all of those things of the past, like past life stuff, and you're also working through, and like what I said with these babies in the bathwater, sometimes we have to give things back to the universe, because the way that time and space collapses, like, there are no going back situations. There are, and my glasses have tears all over them. There is like no return paths in this manifestation, but it doesn't mean that it doesn't happen on another timeline. And that's like such a hard thing to balance. It's such a hard thing to transmute. And so I think when you have to give things back to the stars, you have to do it from a place of this knowingness that you're driving beauty and love in your own life, knowing that you're gonna find happiness, knowing that this will come, like, your coven will dance again. Your coven, like, your coven is like when we embody the creator, the sustainer, and the destroyer in ourselves. This could be about giving up an archetype for some people and embracing a new archetype. Whew. Alright, this is really a heavy reading. I hope that you got something beneficial out of that. Let's see who I am reading for. I am reading for Aries. All right, Aries. There's a lot happening and transferring through your 12th house right now. We've got transits through Taurus, which are backing through your 12th house. And the 12th house is the hidden area of our lives. And so, you're working through a lot of, these world issues, these world, like, the interconnectedness of all things, and working through those energies. So, keep going with that, keep meditating on it. This is an important time for you, and just a lot of love and support to our Aries out there who are working with these energies. All right, just give me a break. I'm going to grab some water, and I'll be right back.